Well, that's spring over. What spring? Yeah, welcome to the November wrap-up. Before I get started, I also have an announcement to make. I am taking some time off from YouTube. This is going to be the last video you are going to see from me until January. Really, I have not been in the mood to make many videos right now. I do think the weather has a lot to do with that. And secondly, it's always very quiet on YouTube for us. I find not many people are watching videos, so I thought it was a good time to take a break. I'm going to wish you all the very best over the holidays and the new year. I hope you all have a very safe and wonderful time with your loved ones. G'day to all you lovely people and welcome back to my channel. I'm Kathy and today I'm going to tell you what I got up to in November. I'm going to start as always with the weather, which has been horrible. I mean, it's December, right? It is summer in Melbourne and I'm wearing winter woolies still. It has been the worst spring ever, I think. And I've lived in Melbourne all my life. It has been so cold that I've actually been running the heater in November. How ridiculous is that? We've had a couple of nice days, say over 20 degrees Celsius, but most days have been under that. So it was just shocking. And it really brought my mood down, and not just me. It feels like we've had a 6-month-long winter rather than winter and spring. And we've had so much rain. So if it's not freezing, it's raining. Yeah, I'm just so over it that I keep threatening to move to Queensland because I'm sick and tired of being stuck inside because it's so cold and miserable. However, what's the point of complaining about it? I've tried that. It does not change anything. All I can do is hope that our summer is much nicer than our spring was. So if I haven't said it, spring sucked in Melbourne this year. Yeah, it sucked big time. It was awful. And I'm so mad at the weather, which is pointless, I know, but I guess more frustrated than mad. I just feel like the last 3 months have been such a waste of time. Okay, so what did I get up to in November? Well, not much really, because I was trapped inside for many days because of either rain or cold. Though I did do a few things, though not much. I did go to see a play, which I have not done since prior to COVID. My carer is also an actor, and she was in this comedy, satire, I guess you would call it, and I really enjoyed it. She was really good too, which is always a relief. That's what I think. When it's a friend, you're always worried that, oh, you know, what if they're really bad? And I have to pretend that they're really good. Oh dear, because you don't want to hurt their feelings. But she was fantastic. Actually, I thought she was the best one in the whole play, but perhaps I'm prejudiced anyway. Anyway, big shout out to Jackie. Okay, what else did I do? I did catch up with a few friends and my family, which was lovely, but we haven't really been able to go anywhere because it's been so wet or so cold. However, hopefully this month, December, I will be able to get out and about a bit more. I have a few things on like everyone does around the silly season. Yeah, I'm not calling it the holiday season. It's definitely the silly season here. So what have I been doing since I've been stuck inside for most of November? Well, I have reached G on my ebooks. Can you believe it? It's taken me months. But that's okay. Hey, it's kept me busy. I cannot complain. If it keeps me occupied and not stressing or worrying about the weather, then I'm happy. Okay, I have been playing way too much of my word puzzle game, though that seems to have slowed down a little as well recently, which is good. I'm still really enjoying it. And that person that I can't stand in my team has left. Hallelujah. Yeah, I celebrated when she left because I cannot abide this person. And I think our team is so much better without her. She was such a negative influence. I don't like it when you get one person who can bring a whole team down because they spend so much time talking that whether you like it or not, it affects the entire team. So as far as I'm concerned, good riddance. And knowing my luck, she'll probably come back next month. Anyway, what else have I been doing? Not all that much more. No. A little bit of editing, but not much. I haven't even really been in the mood to do YouTube. I have a lot of ideas of videos that I want to bring out. I just haven't been in the mood to even record them or edit them. So I guess I'm going to have to leave that till next year. There is nothing worse than trying to force yourself to do something that you really just don't want to do. And at the moment, I don't want to do anything. Wow, that sounds so lazy, which is not like me, but I'm just feeling this need to just veg out, I guess. So that is what I'm intending to do in December. I personally don't like Christmas, the holidays, but I do like buying myself presents. And I've been thinking what to get myself. And I think I've probably spent enough the last month that can be considered my accumulated Christmas presents. I bought a few more new plants, and that is in addition to my spring haul, the video I just brought out last week, but I'm not going to show them to you today. I will show them to you in January. I also bought a few more books because I always love buying books, and I bought a whole stack of BluRays because they had a 30% off sale during the Black Friday sales. And I haven't bought BluRays in a while. The truth is, though, with COVID, it seemed there was hardly any really good films out there. I don't know yet if these are good or not. I guess I'll find out. But now it seems like there's more available. And so a lot of what I did buy were like sequels to film sets that I already had. I don't know why, but December always seems a perfect month for me to watch a lot of films, and I generally do. Though the truth is, I've hardly watched any this year. It's so unusual. Normally I've seen everything that's come out, but I just haven't been in the mood. I am, though, intending to watch a few more, especially now that I own all these new BluRays, these nice shiny new BluRays, because I am a purist. I prefer watching them with the best quality and the best sound. And as far as I'm concerned, it's either a Blu-ray or perhaps even 4K. I just haven't figured out a way yet of burning 4K discs. And before you ask, these are all discs that I own, which I am allowed to burn. I burn all my films, you see, all my TV shows, and I actually store them on my NASAs, which I can then stream direct to my TV. And because I burn at the same quality, I don't lose anything by not using the discs. I also save the discs that way. I need to do more research as to how to burn 4K discs. I've never bought any because I don't have a 4K player, and I thought, well, what's the point then? And until I can figure out how to burn them, I'm continuing with Blu-rays. In addition to my Blu-ray movies, I also bought the latest Doctor Who's because I am a massive Doctor Who fan. And I have now, I think, one season and all the specials to watch. I can't remember now if I did watch season 12 or not. I hadn't realised actually that Jodie Whittaker, the last or 12th Doctor, I think it was, or 13th, I can never keep track. She was finishing up this year, but I expected the final episode that she was in to be Christmas. And apparently, no, it came out in October. I missed that as well. So I'm really keen to watch Doctor Who. Oh, I'm very keen, actually. It's one of my all-time favourite shows that I rewatch over and over again. I am still watching Supernatural. I've almost finished season 10. For some reason, I thought I had watched season 10, but I can't recall these episodes, so these are all new to me, which is really good. And I'm actually really liking season 10. I'm liking the story arc in relation to Dean, but he is my favourite character. Anyway, so I guess that's no surprise. Whereas Sam is, so annoying sometimes that he does bother me, though I do think they work really well together on the screen and as brothers. Yeah, I still love this show and I'm really keen now to see the end. So who knows, I might have to slip Doctor Who in between, because Doctor Who is much shorter. It's only, I think, 8 episodes this last season and a few specials. So it won't take me long to get through. Where Supernatural is 22, 23 episodes each year. And after I finish this season, which I think I have 1 episode left, I have another 5. So it will take me a while still to finish her. I have not been knitting though, even though I've been watching. I haven't done much knitting at all. I just haven't been in the mood. But in addition to buying books and films and plants, I've also bought a bit of wool, which I haven't done all year either. My favourite place to buy yarn from is Bendigo Woolen Mills, and they bring out special edition yarns every now and again. And they brought out this new mix of cotton and wool. I actually don't enjoy knitting with cotton because I find it just stretches so much. It's so much cheaper to just buy ready-made cotton, and I don't like wearing it because it's not warm enough. I want something that has a little bit of warmth if I'm going to wear a cardigan, for example. So this new yarn looks ideal for me, and it looks like, I don't know how to pronounce this, I think it's boucle or something like that. Almost looks bubbly. I don't know how else to describe that. It's the first time they brought out anything like this since I've been buying from them, and I'm really keen to knit something. So now I have to finish the one I'm currently still knitting before I can start a new project. I'm actually surprised that I haven't finished this jumper I'd started back in autumn. Usually I knit quite a bit, but this year has been a quiet year for me in relation to knitting. Now, I did watch a couple of films in November, or 3, that I can remember. One was Jungle Cruise with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and Emily Blunt. I thought it was very average. To be honest, when it started, I was like, this is The Mummy. The original Mummy with Rachel Weisz and Brendan Fraser. It was so similar that I couldn't believe it. And I just don't think it was as charming as The Mummy, which is one of my favourite films. And I've been keen to rewatch, and I'm intending to watch very, very soon. Jungle Cruise was entertaining. It was just a little bit too unbelievable at times. All I'm going to say is submarine, really? Yeah, it didn't work for me at all. I didn't like the villain whatsoever. And I think maybe for those of us who've seen The Mummy first, watching this, you just think, yeah, it's a poor cousin to The Mummy. That whole dynamic, the relationships between the different characters, it just didn't work as well for me. And I certainly didn't find the romance between Blunt and Dwayne Johnson really believable at all. Yeah, I just didn't see the same spark that I saw between Weisz and Fraser. So that was a little disappointing. Then I watched Event Horizon, probably because I had talked about it in a video, and I really enjoyed that. I still like this film. I think it is a good horror, actually, compared to some. And I love horror that is also science fiction. So that, yeah, I was not disappointed watching that. And the last one I saw was Luca, an animated film. I've been wanting to watch this for a while. I think I started it several months ago and I never finished it. So I sat down and watched it, and beautiful, no doubt. Pixar films are always absolutely beautiful to look at, I just found it quite mediocre as well. Not one I really enjoyed all that much. There is a story about a young sea monster, according to the humans, who can come up on land, and of course the issues he faces with discrimination and being feared. And then you have this competition, and the winner, the usual winner of this competition, is such an exaggerated character that I just could not buy it, and I just really didn't like that at all. I just don't like extreme exaggerations or caricatures when it comes to characters, whether it is an animation or anything else. I think it's insulting to kids that they can't figure out what a bully is, what a terrible kid is. I know it's an animation, perhaps I'm expecting too much, but I feel this one missed the mark for Pixar, though it is lush to look at like all their films are. Okay, so I've told you about what I've been watching, what I've been knitting, not much. So I guess now I should move on to what I've read, which was not all that much actually. I finished the Thrawn trilogy. The final book is The Last Command. These are by Timothy Zahn. And oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, I loved this trilogy so much. I'm going to do a video on it. Haven't done it as yet, but I will. I found this series just as enjoyable, if not more so, than when I first read it back in the 90s. It might have taken me a little bit of time to get into the series, but by the second book, I was hooked entirely, and I just raced through books 2 and 3. And I was so into this Star Wars universe that I read the sequel duology, which is called The Hand of Thrawn. I know it's confusing. The way I see it, it's like 5 books, really. Though the first is a trilogy, then there is this duology. And I loved the duology just as much. It was fantastic. And I couldn't recall it as well. So now I'm not sure if I did read it, or that's when I took a break, or what happened. And I'm just now keen to read more and more of Zahn's Star Wars books. And that is 6 very large books, plus these 2 standalones, plus another. So it's going to take me a while. Definitely. Yeah. So it looks like that's all I'm going to read in December is all the Star Wars books by Timothy Zahn. I most likely will throw something in between. I always do. Sometimes it's nice to take a break, say, between a series. Like I finished the duology and I read several other things. And I think the same will happen with the other books. But unfortunately, that means The Magician is going to wait. I am not keen to start a second large series when I'm in the middle of this one. So my apologies to any of you who did read The Magician and are waiting for me to talk about it. I will, I promise. I'm definitely going to be reading it. I'm just not sure exactly when I'll get started on it. This is why I am so bad at doing TBRs, to be reads. I never know what I'm going to get in the mood for. And I am definitely a mood reader. I can pick up a book thinking, yep, this is one I want to read. And the next time I might think, no, I don't want to read this. And then I go hunting for something to read that I am in the mood for. I have been wanting to read so many other things, but I've been obsessed with the Star Wars books. I so love Luke Skywalker. Oh my God, I am still crushing so bad on him. He is definitely my favorite character in the entire series so far. I just love how much he has developed through them. I do think also, as I've been going through the books, as I think Zahn has been more comfortable in the Star Wars universe, he has just improved even more at his characterization of these very beloved figures. They just seem more and more real as I progress through the books, which is probably why I am loving them so much. Yeah, so highly recommend them, especially if you are as big a Star Wars fan as I am. And then I thought it is time I finished The Master and Margarita, and I did. And I think I enjoyed it more having had a break from it. Master and Margarita is written by Mikhail Bulgakov, and it is a satire, a very biting satire at times, about Russian society during the Stalin years, the Stalin era, about the extreme oppression of different groups, any dissidents, I think. And I'm sure I missed so many references that are uniquely Russian. But nevertheless, whilst I found it hard to read because I kept getting confused with the Russian names, I will be honest, Russians have this very distinctive way of describing people. If it is formal, they use different names to if it is informal. Not uncommon in different languages, but it made it very confusing for me to know which character is which. My best friend is Russian, and I was talking to her about it, and I said, explain it to me because I don't know. And she was telling me that she is sometimes called in by theatre companies to help explain just how names work in Russia. So I thought, okay, it's not just me then. I don't feel stupid that I can't remember who these people are. But it made it a little bit harder to keep track of what was going on. But the overall theme, I think, to these books is about good and evil. Because we have the devil who comes to Moscow with his retinue, including a very large and talking cat and several other very strange characters, very distinctive characters, who create havoc in Moscow. And yet, you know, by the end of the book, I felt that the devil's not evil. He is just required to balance the good, I guess. And ultimately, it was all about people's choices. It wasn't really him necessarily, well, okay, it was him tempting people, I won't deny it, but it was also mainly people making these choices themselves. And it's so much easier, isn't it, to blame religion for our choices or the devil rather than take responsibility. Oh, maybe that was the message I was supposed to take away from it. I don't know. I won't say that I loved it, but perhaps it is one that I will enjoy more on a reread. I think so. Yeah, because I will confess, Bulgakov was a beautiful writer. Oh my goodness, I just loved his descriptions of places and things. His prose is so evocative. It just gave me these amazing visuals whenever I read a paragraph or a sentence. I was really impressed with his style of writing, and I would like to read more of his books. I don't know if he has a lot more, but I think I will read some more in the future. Now, I don't know if this is a book for everyone. It is much more heavier going than some books I've read recently, but nevertheless, I think it's well worth reading, at least once, yeah. And I also decided that I need to read another classic, because really Master and Margarita was for a previous month. So I read Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. I have never read it. Of course, I've seen the films and I know the story very well, but I thought it's time I read it. And I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I thought it was so cleverly written. The puns are hysterical. There are so many very memorable characters, like the Cheshire Cat and the Mad Hatter, and who was it who was with the Hatter? I can't remember now. But regardless, that tea party was hilarious. I think because there is such clever writing, so many puns, that I probably missed them in the films. But reading them, I could see just how smart they were. Yeah, I loved this one. It was very charming. And it's a very quick and short read. Highly recommend it if you haven't read it. And I was keen to read the next one, so I did. I read Through the Looking Glass as well. That one, I will confess, I did not love as much. I did like the puns. I liked several of the characters like Tweedledum and Tweedledee and Humpty Dumpty. But the poems, I didn't enjoy as much. I think that took away some for me. And it just didn't seem to have the same kind of spark, the same energy that the first book had. And yet in some ways, I really liked this concept of this giant chessboard. I think Alice in Wonderland is far superior. It just seemed to fall a little flatter. Yeah, that one I didn't enjoy as much, but it doesn't matter. I'm glad I read them both. Oh, and in between, I threw a couple of Mills and Boons. I read another Catherine George one. You know, I've decided I don't always like her women. I think sometimes they're not very nice. I think the men put up with too much. Isn't that weird? I never would have thought that when I was younger. But as an adult, I think, oh, they're not always very pleasant women, I don't think. A little bit bitchy for my taste. And as I was doing my covers, I came across another author that I used to love as a teenager, Robin Donald, very well known, and I think very popular Mills and Boons writer, romance writer. And there was one book I don't think I'd read, and oh my God, wow, I got so angry at this hero. Yeah, I don't even want to call him that because he was horrible. He is this rich mogul who decides to employ this young girl, young teacher, to be a governess. They even use the term governess today. I mean, seriously. Yeah, to be a governess for his niece. And she signs a contract. And then he has the gall to tell her that he owns her. Oh my God. Yeah, I was like, what? Oh my God, I was so enraged. I thought, tell him to take a hike and get the hell out of there. And this girl stayed. And I was like, what are you doing? He's horrible. He's a control freak. Oh my God. So I had a lot of fun reading that one and just going off the deep end at this anti-hero, I'm going to call him, and just wanting to take this heroine and shake some life into her. So I guess at least it evoked some very strong emotions in me, but the romance itself was just, unbelievable. And I thought, wow, this is such crap. If I can remember the name of it, I'll put it up on the screen. I do not recommend this one. Now, some of the books, and I've read a couple, I think I told you last month, some of them do stand the test of time. This one does not at all. And whilst all of these are written like in the 80s, which is when I was reading them, or the 70s, I mean, I've changed, obviously. Yeah, I'm much more cynical now than I was then. But I also think even as a teenager, I would not have put up with this bullying control freak. I would have been up in arms. I would have stormed out and left. And I could not understand why this girl did not. It's getting late, so I had to change positions, and I'm hoping that the lighting is better this way. I guess I'll find out, right? Okay. Now, though this author is well known for writing very alpha males, which I don't mind if the females are equally as strong, equally as independent. But when you get one that is a pushover, because that's what I think she was in this book, then I'm just not interested. Next, I was in the mood for some more robot stories by Isaac Asimov because I am keen to finish his robot series. But because I'm in the middle of the Zan one, I'm not sure when I'll get to it. So I thought, fine, I'll just read some short stories of his, even though I'm not really a fan of short stories. But I absolutely loved his short stories. He wrote one, I think it is called Victory Unintentional, which was brilliant. It was about robots who go to Jupiter to talk to this very hostile species that humans are trying to forge a treaty with. And honestly, I could not stop laughing. Isomab knew people. Yeah, he was very good at describing what motivates people, I think. And I'm finding his short stories very to the point, very realistic in its portrayal of human nature. And I really enjoyed that. Plus, of course, then there is this amazing element of robots, what they are, how we perceive them, how we treat them, how they perceive us. Yeah, it's all fascinating. So I'm really enjoying it. I didn't think I'd want to read all of them, but now I want to. I only read 3. Who knows, I might read some more tonight because I'm in the middle of things at the moment. And then I think, I don't know what I'm going to read. I guess you guys will find out next month. So altogether, I'm not sure what it is, 7 books, 8 books, somewhere around there. Not as many as some months, but hey, that's okay. You know, I was thinking about it. That's 2 books at least a week. I guess that's not that few, really, right? Okay, so let's move on to my plants, my outdoor garden and my indoor plants. All right, I'm going to start with the garden. Now, whilst I have absolutely loathed the weather in November, I cannot say that about the garden. It has really enjoyed all the rain and mild weather overall, though some things have not liked it. Like my marigolds are not taking off because it's far too cold for them. But I've had so many plants come back that have reseeded themselves. Plants I didn't realize could reseed themselves. I'm now kicking myself that I actually threw out so many plants in previous years, not realizing that they could reseed. In a way, it's good. It means I don't have to go and buy more. Though I might, I don't know yet, because I'm always looking for something new and interesting. But I'm just loving how many plants have come back on their own. My snapdragons, wow, I've got a plethora of them now. Really lovely ones, which I'm glad have come back. My Calibrachoa came back, and many of my petunias, my dahlias are coming back. Oh yes, it's really exciting. Still, I don't think my garden is at its peak just yet, though my jasmine is. Oh my goodness. I love this plant so much. I know I keep moving because the light is just getting really intense, and I'm worried that this video is going to look very exposed. But anyway, okay, my jasmine. Definitely one of my favorites, and it is in full glorious bloom right now. My jasmine is actually right at the entrance to my home, and oh my goodness, every time I go in and out, I stop and just take it in because the scent is amazing. Everyone loves it. Everyone remarks on it, and I don't blame them. It is really the sweetest scent without being too overpowering. It's not like some that are like just too much for your senses. This one is just divine. I often just open my door and take a whiff because I love it so much. I also moved a cactus that my parents had given me years and years ago. In fact, when I moved here about 8 years ago, it was in a pot and bursting its seams, and I left it there. But we actually did put it in the garden in the wrong spot, unfortunately. It just was not getting enough light, and we have been rearranging some plants, replanting them actually, putting them in what we hope are better positions. And my gardener decided to put them under this tree, where he was saying we probably need to plant something to kind of help with the soil and with the other plants. And it is so adorable. Oh my goodness. I should have done this years ago. And I thought, you know what? I've got this, box of succulent cuttings. Why don't I just plant them and make a little succulent garden? So we did, and it is so cute, too cute for words. Everyone who sees it just falls in love with it, and I don't blame them. And it didn't cost me anything because these were all cuttings from my succulents that I've got. The only plant that I put in there was my black prince, my mother plant, my large black prince. It got mealybugs over the winter and I didn't know until it was way too late, and it desiccated all the lower leaves. It has a little rosette up the top. I treated it and I decided, you know what? It looks so sad in the pot. We're going to put it in the garden. And that way, hopefully it will actually just do better being in soil and in the ground rather than in a pot. Besides, I already have 2 other babies that it had given me. I'm really hoping it will bounce back and grow nice and big, because they do grow big in the gardens in Melbourne anyway. But yeah, just too cute. I just had to show you that. As for my indoor plants, I think they're confused. I really do. A few months ago when spring started, they went nuts. They were putting out so much growth. They were looking really lush and happy. And yet in November, it's like everything's stalled. They're like, hang on. We thought it was spring, which means summer's coming, but it's really cold and you've got the heater on again. So yeah, we don't know what to do. And they've stopped growing as much. It's not that they have stopped entirely, just not as active as they were a month or 2 ago, which is quite unusual for my plants in this time of year. As for plants that are not doing well, I'm going to start with this. This is my Hoya curtisii. One of my absolute favorites, but it is just not doing well for me. It's a tiny little plant. It was probably a little bit bigger when I first got it, and yet I just can't seem to get it right. Now, I did speak to Miro from Basic Plants about this, and he told me they do not like to dry out. So I've tried not to let it dry out, but I think I might have missed a couple of waterings. I've tried not to overwater it, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Now, perhaps I would do better with a more established plant, because it wasn't much bigger than this when I bought it. But these are not cheap. I think I paid $30 for this tiny little plant, and I'm just not willing to pay a lot more for a larger one. But yeah, she's not looking the best. And really, it's the only Hoya that isn't doing well for me, which is sad. I was really hoping she would take off this spring, and she hasn't. But that might be because the weather has been all over the place. Perhaps she'll do a bit better when it gets warmer, if it ever does, yeah. And the second one I want to show you is one that I was intending to show you as something good, but we found pests. Yeah, didn't we? This is actually another new plant that I forgot in my spring plant haul. So really, I bought 17 plants this spring, not including the 4 new ones which I only got recently. This was really an impulse buy. I was at Bunnings because, I'm a sucker, and I saw it and it just looked so big and lush. I thought, oh, I want this. It's never been one of my favorite calatheas, but I thought, why not? Give it a try, especially with a bigger plant. It is a Calathea zebrina. I do like the large ones. Not so much the little ones, but the large ones, definitely. Really, I prefer and I know I'm going to butcher this, Wiswishii. Yeah, I really like that Calathea or Japersia Wiswishii, but it's very hard to find. So I thought, fine, I will try with the zebrina. This one is much easier to get. But she has whiteflies. I think I might have caught it a bit earlier than I did my Calathea rufibaba, which was my other large Calathea from Bunnings that had whiteflies. But this is the second large plant from Bunnings that has gotten the same pest. So I'm thinking I may not get any of these large ones, Calatheas anyway, from Bunnings again. It's kind of put me off it, because what's the point of paying $30 or so for this large, lush plant only to have it die and be reduced to nothing? I'm very disappointed actually, because she looked happy. She looked like she was doing well. She was putting out a lot of new leaves, and now she has pests. So I'm wondering if it's perhaps something that was dormant in the soil. I don't know. But that is really the only bad ones I've got, I guess. So that's not too bad, right? Considering it hasn't been the easiest month on my plants. And now I'm going to show you some plants that are doing really, really well. Let's start off with my peperomia. I don't know what this one is called. Putoileta, I think. I'll put the name on the screen. Yes, a peperomia that is doing well for me. In fact, this one, I think I've had about 6 months, maybe a bit longer. It did not do well when I got it. It had these long stems, and all the leaves at the top of the stems that he brought out, it killed off. It was not a happy camper. I had it originally on my desk. It wasn't happy there. I put it somewhere else. It kept losing all its new leaves, and I thought, oh, this one is going to be a really fussy one. But miracle of miracles, I've kept this one alive and she's doing so well. You can see all the new leaves. Isn't she just gorgeous? I love this stripe on her leaves. I love the colour of them. They're kind of almost a greyish green. And I just think she is adorable, especially in this little pot. I was so convinced I was going to lose it that I keep checking her all the time to make sure that she's still all right, and she is. I like to have them at least a year before I feel confident about a plant. But so far, so good, and too cute for words. Yeah, I do love little plants. Yeah, I do. I just don't like having a million of them and having to water them all. And the second one is one I don't know if I've shown you guys before. I probably have in a haul. This is my Philodendron subhustatum. Such an underrated plant, I think. This one is amazing. It has kind of elongated leaves. They are nice and glossy, but the backs, oh my goodness. I think I have shown you this one before, but she has just taken off so much the last couple of months that I wanted to show you. I think she actually might need a repot because she's starting to put out smaller leaves, but seriously, this thing grows so easy. Now, when I researched the subhustatum, they said this one does not like to dry out. So I don't wait until she is fully dry before I water her. And that seems to have worked for me. But she's so deceptive. You see this? Beautiful, I think. Lovely green lush leaves. You think, yeah, that's nice. But flip her around and you're like, oh my goodness. And it's such a deep, dark red as well. Absolutely stunning, if you ask me. And doing so well for me. And last but not least is my Oxalis triangularis, my purple shamrock. Okay, this thing is crazy. I swear this thing is amazing. Her name is Viola Davis. Don't ask me why, but it seemed to suit her. I just love this plant because she makes a big, big impact now. I only started with a little plant. She was maybe in a pot this size. And she actually fell off the curtain rod and smashed to the ground, got scattered all around the floor. She did not care. No, we put her back together and she just will not stop either bringing out leaves or flowering. She flowers for me throughout the year. I think I've had her at least a year and a half now, and oh my goodness, I love this plant so much. She also lets you know when she's thirsty because her butterflies drop, but they do look like butterflies. And I don't know if people know this, but at night they actually close. I love plants that do things like that, that change how they look throughout the day and night. It is so cool. Nature is so cool. Now she grows so fast that we notice immediately when she needs a repotting because we're constantly having to water her. So I repot her, and every time she gets into a new pot, she explodes. She really does. She doubles in size within a few weeks. And then yet again, we have to water her more often because she just needs it. She is constantly putting out leaves. We repotted her in spring because she needed a repot. And I am not exaggerating. I think she has tripled in size. And I'm not talking about just the size of the leaves. I'm talking about how many stems she has. She is amazing, this plant. Everyone loves her because her color is spectacular. And I don't know what to do with her because she's getting so big. So I've decided I'm going to split her next time she needs a repot. My Carol would love a pot of hers, so I'll give her some. And then I'll let her regrow. And when she outgrows that pot, I'm going to put her in a bigger pot and put her somewhere else and let her just have as much space as she needs. I'm kind of curious to see just how big this plant can get. For some reason, I thought this one wasn't an easy plant. I remember reading things about them hibernating over the winter or summer, one or the other. Mine never has. She just continues to bloom and bring out more and more leaves and larger leaves each time. If you can get your hands on one, I highly recommend her. She is a very easy plant for me and just stunning. Who doesn't love this big splash of colour in their home? I do anyway. Well, that is all I have for you guys today. I actually thought this was going to be a short video, but as usual, I just continue to ramble, don't I? Now I'd like to hear what you guys got up to in November. How are your plants doing? Have you read anything interesting? You know, I always love to hear. And you can put it down in the comments or you can contact me on Instagram. Thank you also very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I also wish all of you the very best over the holiday season. Enjoy your time with your loved ones. And for those of you who do celebrate it, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Until next time, bye.